On August 24, 2006, fewer than 500 astronomers in a room in Prague voted Pluto out of the solar system. Not destroyed, not shattered, just erased. One afternoon, 9 planets became 8. And a world that had held its place for 76 years was stripped of its title and forgotten. Children crossed it out of their textbooks. Teachers stopped saying its name. And for the next 9 years, Pluto drifted in silence at the edge of everything. Reduced to a number, 134340. Just another frozen rock in the Kuiper Belt. But silence in space is not the same as death. On July 14, 2015, after a journey of 9.5 years and 5 billion kilometers, a spacecraft no larger than a piano reached the exiled world, NASA's New Horizons. It had been launched before Pluto was even demoted, back when it was still a planet. The probe was designed to photograph a graveyard. Instead, it found something no one predicted. The first image came back, and the entire scientific community went silent. Because there, carved into the frozen face of Pluto, was a heart. Not a metaphor, a literal, continent-sized, bright white heart. 1,600 kilometers wide, etched into a world 5 billion kilometers away. As if the world we abandoned was staring back at us, daring us to look closer. Scientists named its western half Sputnik Planitia, and what they found inside that heart was not romance, it was violence. Sputnik Planitia is a basin the size of Texas and Oklahoma combined, carved by a cataclysmic impact billions of years ago. But the wound did not scar over. Instead, it filled with nitrogen ice, a sheet at least 4 kilometers thick, stretching nearly 1 million square kilometers. And this ice is not still, it churns. Deep beneath the basin, heat from Pluto's interior pushes warmer nitrogen upward. It rises to the surface, spreads outward, cools, and then sinks again, like oatmeal slowly boiling on a stove. This process is called convection, and it creates vast polygonal cells across the surface, each one roughly 10 to 40 kilometers wide and less than 200,000 years old. On a world 4.5 billion years old, that surface is practically newborn. But here is what disturbed scientists most. Along the edges of Sputnik Planitia, they found mountains. Not rock, not stone, water ice, frozen so hard in Pluto's minus 233-degree surface that it behaves like steel. These mountains, the Tenzing Montes, tower over 6 kilometers high. And some of them are not anchored to the ground. They float. Water ice is slightly less dense than nitrogen ice. So, as the glaciers carve and churn, enormous blocks of frozen water rise through the nitrogen and drift across the surface like icebergs on a toxic sea. Mountains, unmoored, wandering in silence across the heart of a world we call dead. And the strangeness does not stop at the surface. Look up from Sputnik Planitia, and you would see something no human ever expected on a world this small. An atmosphere. Thin, just 100,000th the pressure of Earth's, but real. Layers of blue haze extend nearly 200 kilometers above the surface, illuminated by a sun so distant it looks like a bright star. Nitrogen sublimates from the heart during the day and freezes back at night, driving winds that circle the planet at up to 36 kilometers per hour. Pluto's heart literally beats, a daily rhythm of evaporation and condensation that controls the entire climate of this dwarf world. But Pluto does not keep its atmosphere to itself. Some of it escapes. Methane, lighter and more volatile than nitrogen, bleeds off into space at an extraordinary rate, and most of it drifts toward the one place close enough to catch it, Charon. Charon is not just a moon. It is half the size of Pluto itself. So large that the two orbit a point in empty space between them. They are not a planet and its satellite. They are a binary system, locked in a permanent gravitational embrace, always showing the same face to one another. A dance that has lasted billions of years. But when New Horizons photographed Charon, it revealed something unsettling. A massive dark red stain covered the moon's entire North Pole. Scientists named it Mordor Macula. 375 kilometers of discolored terrain, as if something had bled onto Charon's face and dried there over millennia.
And something had. Methane escaping from Pluto drifts across the 20,000 kilometers between the two worlds and falls onto Charon's frigid poles, where winter temperatures plunge to just a few degrees above absolute zero. The methane freezes, it accumulates, and then, over more than 100 Earth years of continuous darkness, ultraviolet radiation scattered by interplanetary dust slowly transforms those frozen molecules into something new. Tholins. Heavy, tar-like organic compounds, reddish-brown, sticky. They cannot sublimate, they cannot escape. They simply build up, layer after layer, century after century, painting Charon's pole with the chemical residue of Pluto's own breath. Pluto, the exiled king, slowly staining its largest companion with its own atmosphere. And yet the most terrifying secret lies beneath everything.
South of Sputnik Planitia, New Horizons photographed two enormous structures unlike anything else in the solar system. Right Mons, 150 kilometers wide and over 4 kilometers tall, with a 45-kilometer depression at its summit. Picard Mons, even larger, 7 kilometers high and 225 kilometers across. Both resemble volcanoes, but they do not erupt magma, they erupt ice. Cryovolcanoes, structures that spew slurries of water ice, nitrogen, and ammonia from deep within Pluto's interior. Their surfaces are almost craterless, meaning they are geologically young. Something beneath Pluto is still warm enough to push material to the surface. Something is still alive down there. This is where the final mystery begins. The position of Sputnik Planitia is not random. It sits precisely opposite Charon, along Pluto's tidal axis. For an impact basin to have migrated to that exact location, it must be a positive mass anomaly, heavier than the surrounding terrain. The nitrogen ice alone is not dense enough to explain this. The math demands something more, something liquid.
Models suggest that beneath Pluto's crust of water ice, perhaps 40 to 80 kilometers deep, there exists an ocean. Not frozen, liquid, denser than seawater on Earth. Possibly enriched with salts and ammonia, kept from freezing by a layer of methane hydrates that insulate it like a blanket. A hidden sea in absolute darkness, under billions of years of ice, on a world 5 billion kilometers from the sun. We looked at Pluto and saw a corpse. We stripped it of its name and moved on. But beneath the silence, beneath the ice, beneath the frozen heart that stared back at us from the edge of the solar system, something endures. We do not yet know what hides in that ocean. We may not know for generations, but the question remains, suspended in the dark, like Pluto itself. What else did we abandon when we stopped looking?